Welcome to Alan's Italy. Good evening. I should say good evening and welcome to Alan's Italy. Forgot that. Tonight's show is going to be a show that I have been working on for a really long time, putting it together. Laura and I have always taken a lot of pictures of Italy in the evening. And we've done sunrises, sunsets in the dead of night. And I decided, and I very rarely show those pictures here on the broadcast, but I decided that I was going to put together an album in which I would take photos that we've taken of Italy at night, and in the evening and in the early morning, and I would also talk about those same locations during the daylight to show you what Italy looks like during the day as opposed to in the evening or in the early morning. And, to me, Italy is wonderful 24/7, but there is something really, really special about Italy when, when it starts getting dark and in the very early morning and in the early evening at sunset. And that's what the show is going to be about. So I've called it Nighttime Magic. And it's show number 87, and it's called Nighttime Magic, Italy's Nighttime Magic. And we're actually going to start with the photo that you see right there in the introduction. So let's get right to it. Okay, so the first town that I've chosen is the town of Cortona. Cortona is a town in Tuscany, really in kind of eastern Tuscany, and it's not far from Arezzo and Montepulciano and Lake Trasimeno. This is what it looks like. It's a really beautiful, beautiful town. One of the really pretty towns, as you could see over there on the right, with the landscape on the left. This is the view they have, and it's really quite beautiful. And Laura and I were there. I think we were there in 2008 or 2007. I'm not completely sure. But we wanted to go there to see this view. We had a hotel that was all the way up, even higher than the town was. The town was actually below us, and the hotel was above. And we thought from that vantage point, we'd get a really beautiful view. So we, drove to the town, very excited. And when we pulled up to the hotel, this is the sight we saw. And you can see that the hotel looks kind of charming, but it's completely foggy. There is no landscape at all in the background that you could see because it's completely fogged in. And but we were patient, and the next morning, Laura took this photograph from the hotel room, and this is one of my favorite photographs. It's sunrise from, above Cortona, looking down at the town. Unfortunately, you cannot see the town because the town is completely covered in fog. So all that white stuff you see there is if there was no fog, you would see the town, the steeples of the churches and, whatever. But Laura caught this photograph, and it's one of my favorite, and it's sunrise over Cortona from very, very high above. And this is an example of, what I'm going to be showing you this evening. Okay, so let's move on, and we come to Orvieto. And Orvieto, of course, is a town in Umbria that I've covered a lot on this show because we go there a lot. We have a friend, Franco Sala, who has helped us to really understand about Orvieto, and I've shown some videos. We had videos of the merchants, and one of the most evocative scenes in Orvieto, in my opinion, is walking down this street, and at the end of the street you come to the cathedral, which we've discussed. In fact, a couple of weeks ago, Rick Hurst was here talking about the Orvieto Cathedral, and that's what he was talking about. And it's a beautiful view coming down this street, looking at the cathedral. And, it's lovely to be walking around Italy during the daytime. But this is what it looks like when you come upon this same exact site from the same exact angle at night. And, to me, that's very, very magical because you get a chance to see, it's lit up and there's nothing else. You can't see anything else around it because everything is darkened, but the cathedral is lit up. So this is the view you get when you're walking around Orvieto in the mid-evening. After dinner, let's say. So let's say it's about 10 o'clock, 10:30, perhaps 11. This is what the Orvieto Cathedral looks like. And of course, this is Orvieto during the daytime, and these are some of the streets. So these are some of the streets right around where our hotel is. You could see that it's really, really a very, very charming town. And that's it during the daytime. And this is the same exact scenes, pretty much, in the evening. And you could see that it takes on a completely different flavor in the evening time because, things are kind of, and it's only in one way to me that it's very, very magical because, and you get the smells of the fires burning, and it's really a very, very amazing experience looking at a town at night. And there's another view of the streets of Orvieto. And there's nobody ever around. This is actually the Hotel Posta, which is a hotel we've never stayed at, but I've heard of, and it's supposed to be a pretty nice hotel. But the streets are deserted. By this time, all the tourists have returned to wherever they're going, and you get home from dinner late, and these are the scenes you see, and it's really, you get this chill. And sometimes we're walking around with Franco, who will suddenly say to us, "Well, I got to leave you now. I got to go to wherever he has to go," and we're in the middle of nowhere. This is, of course, that same scene with the cathedral in the background. And once you get to a scene like this, you have no difficulty finding your way around because the cathedral is such a central location. This is the cathedral, close up as it looks at night. This is going under some of those archways that I was showing you earlier, but in the nighttime. And you might feel like a kind of insecure walking around the streets of Orvieto at night, but it's completely safe. Okay, the next town is the town of Greve in Chianti. Greve is known as kind of the unofficial capital of the Chianti region of Tuscany, and it gets that name because it's probably the largest town, and it's kind of at the gateway. You leave Florence, you go south along Route 222, and eventually you come to Greve, and then from Greve you go to all the other towns in Chianti, like Rada and Gaiole, for example. So this is from our hotel window. This is the main piazza in Greve. And this is in January, and you can see it kind of looks like a January day, but it's bright and you can kind of see what's going on. And earlier in the morning, it's full of cars, but then you're supposed to get your cars out of there. So I was actually on my way downstairs. My car is the blue car right there in the middle. So that's what the main piazza of Greve looks like in the daytime, the same exact piazza at night. And you could see it's really a tremendous difference. They had very fancy, it was right after Christmas time, so they had the Christmas lights already up there. And that's a really interesting shot of that pretty much same cathedral, but not from above. This is from ground level. And this is the streets of Greve walking around at night. And it's kind of spooky. Nothing going on. Maybe a few restaurants are open. And for the most part, you're just walking around. This is the arcade that goes around the main piazza. And, you can see all the stores are closed up. So there isn't much going on. And the next town I chose is the town of Stresa. And Stresa is located on the western bank of Lake Maggiore. And it's the largest town around the lake. Lake Maggiore is a beautiful lake, as you can see right there. This is the view from our hotel balcony looking out at the lake during the daytime. And, it's kind of a beach resort. And in fact, when we drove into this town, it sort of reminded us a little bit of Miami Beach because there were like all the hotels along the water. But as you go through the evening, it starts getting more and more charming and very, very interesting because this is what it looks like in the very, very early evening on kind of a cloudy day, so it even looks darker. And as you go through the early evening to, actually sunset, this is what that same view looks like of Lake Maggiore with the mountains in the background and the low-hanging clouds. And you could even see, from the redness of the sunset reflecting in the lake itself. And, it takes on a completely different view. This is a photo that Laura took, and this is sunset on Lake Maggiore, one of my favorite photos that she's ever taken. And it is just absolutely an amazing photograph of the lake. Now, I'll stay with that for just a moment so you could really get a view of it. You could see the sun just disappearing over the mountain, kind of a little off to the right of center. Okay, and we move on. We're going to go from town to town, some of the little towns, and then we'll talk about Venice and Florence and Rome. But this is another town. I wouldn't call this little. This is kind of like a pretty big city that we were lost in driving around. That's not an unusual experience, but we were kind of groping our way through this town. We got to our hotel, which was a really lovely hotel right across from the train station, and we went out to the balcony, and this is what the view looked like from the balcony, which was very, very lovely. There's the mountains in the back. It's surrounded by mountains, and that's what the mountains look like in the background. And it's, very, very attractive. But this is it in the early evening, and it's pretty much the same view, slightly more, to the left. This is what it would look like as it starts getting dark, and it's, quite an amazing experience. And this was the same photo, but a few minutes later. And, you start seeing the lights in the towns along the mountain and the villas and the houses, and it's quite amazing. All right, now we go to Venice, and Venice is really an amazingly magical place during the day as well as, at night. But at night, it's really very, very spooky, and I hope I could, bring that home to you during the next series of pictures that I'm about to show you. So the first thing I show you here is an area in Venice on the very southern portion of Venice known as the Giudecca. And that's what the Giudecca looks like during the day. And it's nice as Venice is. There's a boat over there on the right, and there are beautiful palazzi and churches and buildings and so on. But this is that same scene, almost the same scene, in the evening. And you could see this. I'm going to go back and forth for a moment. This is pretty much it, and this is almost the same scene. And it really becomes quite amazing. And this is, as you could see, Laura caught the sunset. Exactly. This is another view of the Giudecca, but looking at it from an area known as Zattere, which is on the southern portion of Venice, but across the canal from the Giudecca. So we had dinner somewhere on this side, and the Giudecca is to the left, and there's, another view of that. And yet another view with a very large yacht right there in the middle. And this is, very nice sunset picture. Okay, now here's the Grand Canal. And, the Grand Canal is a very exciting place to be. You get, the beautiful boat rides that I've taken you on and shown you what this looks like. And this is what it starts to look like in the early evening. And it's, the lights start to come on, and sometimes there's red lights and green lights, and it really becomes very, very special. And of course, as the evening wears on, this is what it looks like as it really starts to get dark. And it gives you a completely different view of Venice. And this is, looking at it from a slightly different angle. And we have a few of those. So this is this angle, and this is slightly different, but from the kind of the same vantage point of what Venice would look like in the early evening at that same point. And you could see that there isn't too much action on the Grand Canal. There's a couple of vaporettos and maybe a private boat, but no commercial vehicles because, that's all, it's after hours. This is the Accademia Bridge going south, facing south, with a vaporetto coming towards us and the vaporetto stop on the right. And this is not the same view, but a very interesting view looking south on the Grand Canal at the Church of Della Salute in the background. That's that main church you see straight ahead. And this is also one of my favorite shots of Venice in the early evening. And this is actually that same shot, but looking at it, I think this was taken from the top of the bridge, and this is taken as we were going under the bridge on a vaporetto or a motorboat, not sure, probably a vaporetto. And then, of course, these are the streets of Venice. Venice is not just canals and waterways. Venice is also streets, and these are some of the streets that we walk down on, on a regular basis. And these are some of the nighttime pictures. And to me, this is a very, very spooky picture of a palazzo that seems to be completely closed up. And there's another view of the Grand Canal. This is, it's really getting, dark now. And these are some of the restaurants along the Grand Canal, some of the palazzi. And this is the hotel we stay in. This is the Pensione Accademia with their, patio right there in the front and to the left. And this is that same, and it's a very nice hotel. And coming up to this hotel when you're checking in or, you're coming back from sightseeing, it's very nice. But this is what it looks like after you come back to it from dinner time. And, that's unbelievable. Look at that shot. Look at the bluish sky in the background, but they have all the lights on in the front. And again, I'd like to show you the contrast during the day and then at night coming back from dinner. It's quite amazing. And here's another view of the Grand Canal, but much further north, right by the Rialto Bridge. So the Rialto Bridge is out of this picture, but on the right side, and from the camera angle, it's kind of behind and to the right. And this is what it looks like in the early evening. And of course, this is almost the same picture of what it looks like pretty much late in the evening. So there's, absolutely no light whatsoever except for some of the lights of the piazzas and the palazzi that, reflect into the sky. And Venice is quite amazing at night. And there's a view in the opposite direction, looking north towards the Rialto Bridge at nighttime. Now, this is a panoramic shot of the area where we were staying in Venice. It's the area right behind San Marco. It's a very nice, peaceful kind of area, considering that a 5-minute walk is the hustle and bustle of the Piazza San Marco. So this is the area we stayed, and I couldn't get this exact photo at night, but I have other pictures in the same vicinity. because we were walking around when we went out to dinner and then came back. We got some of these shots. There's a little restaurant. I don't know if you could see it, but it's right in the center, slightly off to the left. You could see a couple of outdoor tables. And that would be quite a spooky place, to have dinner because the rest of it is just completely dark. And this is one of the back streets of Venice at night. And it gives you just a completely different view of Venice from what you would see during the daytime. Look at this shot of one of the canals, again in the vicinity of where our hotel was located. And I don't know if that's the same picture. It could be the same location, but closer up, you could see there's a restaurant on the right side. You see there's a restaurant with red tables and umbrellas above it. We had lunch at that restaurant, and during the day it was very, very nice, but you could see how it would have looked in the evening time. Really, really lovely. And this is one of the palazzi of Venice, lit up. And another view of that same area. Actually, I think this is, from where the restaurant would be slightly out of the picture on the left side, right by the railing. So we're probably taking the picture from a bridge with the restaurant right next to it. And we were just walking around. We had, no idea where we were really going. We were just walking around Venice at night. And these are the scenes that you see. And there's that restaurant on the left side. And people, you could see that this is probably pretty late in the evening, maybe, 9, 10 o'clock. And the restaurant is quite jammed. This is what people do in Venice at night. They either hang around one of the major piazzas, like the Piazza San Marco, or they have dinner very, very late in the evening and just linger on, drinking wine and having cappuccinos. I should say cappuccini, the Italian version of cappuccino. And look, that's what it looks like. And these people are, it's very relaxing. It's quiet. It's not like, there's dancing and music going on. It's just people having a quiet dinner, but just very, very late into the evening. And this is another view of a canal with the campanile of one of the churches in the background. This is actually our hotel from one of the angles walking towards it. And this is the street that the hotel is on. I shouldn't say street, it was really on a canal. But Venice at night. And that was that's really spooky because the streets are not really streets as we know them. The streets are really alleyways, and to go down one of those alleyways can be a little spooky, I have to admit, even though it's probably completely safe. And what that sign over there says Ponte del Greco, and I believe that's the bridge that we were just showing a few minutes ago. And here's a palazzo, well lit up. And another restaurant over there on the right side, on the canal. Very peaceful scene. And this is the entrance to the hotel. I just love coming back to hotels at night, and you get this completely different view of what the hotel looks like. And this is, you're wandering around and you're a little lost after about an hour or so. And you want to get back to your hotel. And this is what it looks like, as we're about to get back into the hotel. We finally found out where we were staying. Okay, and now we go to, completely opposite side of the country. Venice is in the northeast, and Sorrento is right on the coast in the southwest. So this is at the very beginning of the Amalfi Coast is the town of Sorrento on the northern part of that. And this is what the Bay of Naples, it's called the Bay of Naples, looks like during the daytime. And these pictures were not taken by us. These pictures were taken by our very good friend, who's an outstanding photographer, Susan Phillips. And this is a magnificent picture that she took, looking out at the Bay of Naples, with Sorrento over there on the right side, on those cliffs. You see the cliffs over there on the right? There's hotels up there, and then it kind of levels off in the front. But this is what the Bay of Naples looks like during the daytime, and this is what it looks like as the evening comes, from a slightly different angle. But this is quite a beautiful view. And this, of course, is probably in my top 3 of favorite photos. And I show this in my introductory montage of photos. This is, again, the Bay of Naples. And, you know, they call it the Bay of Naples because Naples is directly across this body of water. You could see Mount Vesuvius in the background, and then Naples is right there, kind of in front of it. And this is a picture that Laura took from a restaurant that we were eating in, which was right next to our hotel in 2006. And we gave it the name Sorrentine Sunset, and Laura did a painting of this, which is we still have, and it's really, really beautiful. One of the best pictures, I believe, that Laura has ever taken. Sorrentine Sunset. And this is, you know, this is the dead of night already, taken from right by the dock, but, you know, higher up. Not, I mean, you can see the dock in the background, but, you know, you have to walk down this very steep road to get down to this point. And this is what it looks like from the very top of the road, looking down at the Bay of Naples in the background, with Naples, you know, lit up in the distance. This is another view. And this was, again, taken by Susan Phillips, as this was as well, of a ferry boat, probably either going from Sorrento to Naples, or Sorrento possibly to the island of Capri. And these are the streets of Sorrento in the evening time. And again, it takes on a completely different view of Sorrento during the day. Much less crowded, a few restaurants, you know, with some outdoor tables. The church, which of course is all lit up, so that gives a completely different view at night than during the day. And, you know, there are places, this I believe is the main piazza, so that would be the Piazza Tassi, I believe it's called, if I remember correctly. And there's a tabacchi shop, and that's open all the time because you can get bus tickets from there and, you know, all kinds of things. And now we move to Lake Como. And Lake Como is probably the most extensively photographed scene that, you know, of any place we've ever been. And, you know, I had to go through all these pictures and filter them. And most of these are really from the town of Varenna, which is the town we always stay in. We could stay in any number of towns, and we've even stayed in Bellagio on Lake Como. But our favorite town is the town of Varenna, which is a beautiful town. This is a picture that Laura took from the walkway that skirts right around the town of Varenna, looking out on Lake Como. In the distance is where Bellagio is located. And this is another one of my favorite photos of what it looks like on Lake Como during the day. A little cloudy, and almost the same exact picture in the evening, with Laura capturing the sunset brilliantly. So this is sunset on Lake Como from the vantage point of the walkway in Varenna, which is on the eastern shore. And that is really some picture. And again, this is Lake Como looking kind of northwest, and that's what it looks like during the day. Another shot looking across the lake during the daytime. And then some evening pictures. And again, Laura really captured some really extraordinary pictures that I'm now going to show you of Lake Como in the evening. Look at that one. Now, this is the town of Varenna from one of our hotel windows, looking north. So this is, we're at the Hotel Villa Cipresi, and we have a hotel room with two views. One of them is a western view, and one of them is a northern view. The northern view actually gives you a very, very nice shot of Lake Como in the distance and the town of Varenna right there in the foreground. And if you look all the way to the back where those mountains are, that's Switzerland. So this is what it looks like during the day, and this is what almost that same view looks like in the evening. And I have some very interesting shots. Look at this one. This is sunset on Lake Como taken from the Hotel Villa Cipresi, looking at the town. That's the town over there on the right side, right front. But you can't see very much because it's dark. And there's an even better shot of a brilliant sunset. This is spanning a little more to the east, so you get a little more view of the town, but you can't make out very much because it's just pitch black in the front there. A similar view. This is one of the churches in Varenna in the early evening, and these are some of the streets. This is one of the streets in Varenna are on two levels. One is on a top level where you come into the town, and if you go down one of these series of steps going down this alleyway, which to us is an alleyway, to them it's an actual street, you actually come to the waterfront, and you could see the waterfront over there in the background, again in the early evening. And there's the lake again. A brilliant sunset. Quite amazing colors in that one. And back to the daytime on Lake Como, just to show you again, this is the evening, and this is what the daytime looks like. The daytime is pretty nice, of course. This is as the sun is going down on Lake Como. And I've narrowed these down. There were thousands and thousands of these, and I've narrowed it down to maybe about a dozen. This is a great photo. And this is a spectacular photo. I don't even know how Laura created this light, but you could see the light on the overhanging tree in the front, in the foreground, and then in the background, you see this incredible sunset. So this is, quite an amazing picture. And this is the view from our hotel room, looking out this is in the very early morning. And it's very, very peaceful. I once showed you a video we had of the birds chirping, and this is what it looks like, looking out from our window at the Villa Cipresi, looking towards the west, towards Bellagio. You see this, I'll point this out. See this area right here? Right around this bend is Bellagio, right over here. So this is, from our window, we could see this little hill here, and then around the side is the town of Bellagio. This town right over here is the town of Pescolo. Okay, so that's looking out the window during the daytime, and that's looking out at the sunset. From that almost the same exact point, except looking a little more to the north. So Bellagio would be off to the left, and we're now looking a little more to the northwest. And of course now we're looking a little more to the, actually more to the north. This is a view looking out of another hotel room we had at the same hotel. They had to give us the suite because our room was booked inadvertently, and they gave us this beautiful suite which gave us this view right from our bed. So you could lie in bed with the window open, and this is what you would see, looking to the south. And that's what it looks like during the day, and that's the same exact view at nighttime, looking at the town. That town over there on the right side in the center is a town called Fiumellata. And that this right over here is a very famous villa called the Villa Monastero. So that's what it looks like at night, looking out of that window. We're just lying in bed now, kind of looking out. This is looking at the same town of Fiumellata, but from a different point of view. And this is Varenna, the main square of Varenna during the daytime. And this is going to the hotel that we stay in, the Villa Cipresi, at night. Usually this is bustling with cars, but right now, of course, it's the nighttime and everything kind of settles down. There's the hotel with those two flags in the front on the right side. And that's the entrance to their restaurant, La Contrada, which is partially indoors and partially outdoors. We've eaten, in both locations. The indoor restaurant is very nice, but the outdoor is right on the patio, which is really beautiful. And there's the name of the hotel right up on the top there, the Villa Cipresi. And now we go to Florence. We don't have many pictures of Florence at night, but this, of course, is Florence from the Piazzale Michelangelo above the town and to the south. And this is what it looks like, the Ponte Vecchio with the Ponte Santa Trinita right after it, and the other bridges. And this is during the daytime, and this is that same scene in the very, very early evening. Not quite the same angle, as you could see, but still, this is what Florence looks like in the evening. And then here's a really great one. Sunset on the Arno. And I don't know where this is taken, and when I showed this to Laura earlier today, she said that it wasn't her photograph, so I don't know where this is from. But this is the Arno with the Ponte Vecchio in the foreground and the sun setting right behind it. Quite amazing. This is also one of my, top 25 favorites. And there's the Arno from ground level as it's getting dark. And then as it's pitch black. And, this is kind of out of focus because, it's hard to take a picture like this. But I just wanted you to see what Florence looks like in the, pitch darkness. So it's probably around 11 o'clock at night now. And that's what the Arno looks like. And it's very beautiful. You stand on a bridge and you just stare at this view. Off to the right here is the hotel we stayed in. This is the Piazza Ognissanti right over here, which I've spoken about a few times. This is the Grand Hotel, which we did not stay in. But the hotel right over here is the Hotel Westin Excelsior that we had the privilege of staying in when a friend of ours was the manager. And now we move on to Rome. And this is the Piazza Navona of Rome during the daytime. And this is a very happening place, as I've mentioned many times on this show. The Piazza Navona is probably my favorite piazza in Rome because it's very lively. There's street performers, there's markets, there's restaurants, cafes, bars, gelato stands. It's always crowded, and there's always something going on. If we have nothing to do and we say, well, what do you want to do? I say, let's go to the Piazza Navona and just hang out. And, you get all these street performers. And this is what it looks like in the evening. It crowds up even more in the evening because this is what Romans do after dinner. They just stroll the streets. You can see the three guys in the front there. That's not unusual. That's what people do. They just stroll around the piazzas. This is not the Piazza Navona. Oh, well, no, I don't think it is the Piazza Navona. This is a different piazza. But, you can see it's very crowded. This is where people hang out. And this is, a street in Rome. This is what Rome looks like walking around at nighttime. And it gives like this really magical kind of look. That's that's an obelisk. And I don't believe it's an Egyptian obelisk. I believe it's Roman, and I believe that it's telling a story. You see these? It looks like there's like relief, sculptures along this. This is telling a story. A lot of these Roman obelisks, tell a story, starting with the bottom and working your way all the way up to the top. And that's what it looks like in the evening. And this is just walking around the streets. And, you could see that the cars kind of empty out. The people kind of empty out. And this is what it's like walking around Rome at nighttime. This is the Pantheon. So this is the Piazza della Rotondo during the day. And it's pretty crowded. This is always crowded, morning till night. And this, of course, is one of the great Roman monuments built during the first century and improved upon over the years. And this is what it looks like at night time. And you can see this is a performer right there in the foreground. And this is one of the streets that go right off the Piazza della Rotondo. And you could see that people just do the same kind of thing. They linger at these outdoor cafes. There's the Pantheon from a distance in the nighttime. No one is in the street that as we're approaching it. Everybody is in the piazza itself. Another view of that. And these are some of the streets in Rome during the day to see, to show you what it looks like walking around Rome during the daytime. And then, of course, at night. This was a very lively restaurant that somebody actually recommended that we go to. But we didn't get a chance. But, this is just walking around, probably walking back to our hotel. And again, you can see the cafe over there on the left side. And this is a view of Rome from the an area known as the Giancolo. I might be pronouncing it wrong. Giancolo. And this was not taken by Laura or by me. This was taken again by somebody we know, and you know him because he's been on the show. Frank Palaya, I believe, took these photos. A couple of photos by Frank. A beautiful picture of Rome in the evening. And that's it for tonight's show. And the next show we're going to be doing, which will be in 2 weeks, is going to be Florence Then and Now Part 2. And what this show is, just to give you a brief introduction, is I did a show during the first year of broadcast called Florence Then and Now. And it was based on a book that my friend Luca had given me with the photographs of Florence in the 19th century. And what I did was I created the show based on what Florence looked like in the 19th century and then what it looked like in the 21st century. And we compared the two to see how the various places have changed. I'm going to be doing a series of 3 shows over the next month and a half. The first one is going to be called Florence Then and Now Part 2. It's the same thing I did the first time, except with photos that I haven't shown to you. And then the second show, 2 weeks later, will be Tuscany Then and Now, which will have Tuscan views from like Pisa and a lot of the Tuscan towns. And then the third show will be Italy Then and Now, and that'll be all over Italy, scenes from all over Italy, as it looked in the 19th century and as it looks nowadays. So that brings us to the end of tonight's show. I hope you enjoyed that. I was looking forward to presenting that, and thank you very much for watching. And for now, buonanotte e buona fortuna.